5 years ago today, during the financial crisis, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell below 8,000. It has doubled since then. Yesterday, the Dow hit 16,000 for the first time. The index has gained more than 3,000 points this year alone.
Some analysts believe investors could be riding the bull market into a bubble. Berkshire Hathaway Chairman Warren Buffett is with us. He's inside his former grade school, Rose Hill Elementary in Omaha, Nebraska, where he lives, celebrating American Education Week. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Warren, we want to talk about young people investing and what they need to learn, and taking note of the fact that you started investing when you were 11 and probably were self-taught. But let me ask you first a general question about the market today and the significance of going through this 16,000 mark. What's the significance?
Well, we've come back a long way from where we were 5 years ago, and you'll see, if you live long enough, you'll see a lot higher prices. I don't know what stocks will do next week or next month or next year, but 5 or 10 years from now, I would say that they're very likely to be higher.
So are the stocks overpriced? You know, Carl Icahn said that they were a mirage. Do you agree with his assessment?
No, I would say that they're in a zone of reasonableness. 5 years ago, I wrote an article for the New York Times and said they were very cheap. And every now and then you can see that they're either very overpriced or very underpriced. Most of the time, they're in an area that maybe they're a little high, a little low, and nobody really knows exactly. But they're definitely not way overpriced. They're definitely not way underpriced.
If you had one concern about where the market is today, what would it be?
Well, I don't have concerns about the market. We look at owning stocks as owning parts of business, just like owning a farm or an apartment house. And if you buy the right farm or apartment house or the right business through a stock, and you don't try and guess whether it's going to go up or down next week or next month, but you hold it for 5, 10, or 20 years, you're going to do very well.
You know, yesterday on this show, we talked about the shale boom, and now that the U.S. is going to produce more oil than Russia, than Saudi Arabia. You recently made a big investment in Exxon. Just how transformative do you think this is for America?
Well, it's very important because we've had a huge deficit in our balance of payments, and a good bit of that's because of oil, and now we're reducing our dependence dramatically on foreign oil, and that means we reduce the number of dollars that flow out of this country to buy oil from the rest of the world. So it's a very important event.
So Warren Buffett, here you are back at Rose Hill Elementary School. Were you a good student when you were a kid? What was your grade point average, Warren Buffett?
Well, I was a good student while I was at Rose Hill. Then I moved to Washington, and I was a disaster for a while.
So we want to talk about your education initiative. I grew up in a house where I was told it was impolite to talk about money. We don't discuss it. It's a private matter. At what point do you think you should start talking to kids about money and business?
Very, very early on. I mean, it's very important to understand about money, about work habits, about saving, and you can't learn that too young. And you know, it is the habits you develop when you're young that you live with them when you're older. Someone once said the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken, and you want to have the right habits, and the time to get them is very, very young.
You've helped create the Secret Millionaires Club for kids to learn the basics. So what's a good way, do you think, to get kids to learn about investing, about finance? Well,
kids do like to learn, but you've got to make it attractive for them. And they learn through reading, they learn through, they're learning every day through watching television, so you might as well have them watching something on television that's enabling them to learn the right things. But they learn through games. They want to learn, and you just have to expose them to some material that will help them along with that. And that's particularly true with money habits.
You are famous for having lots of young people, especially those in business school, come to Omaha and have a lunch and have a conversation about their own questions and aspirations. You've also had this thing that's starting called inviting business pitches from kids. What's that about?
Well, we encourage kids throughout the country to start thinking about business very early, and the finalists, 8 finalists, will come to Omaha in the spring, and they have some remarkably imaginative business ideas. And interestingly enough, there was a study many years ago that showed that the most important variable in determining people's success in business was not their grades in business school or whether they went to graduate business school. It was the age at which they started their first business. If you get interested in business early, you know, you're going to learn a lot.
That is really good to know. I just want to know where we can go to get a private tutorial. just throwing it out there, Warren Buffett.
Yeah. Warren, I've got 3 kids.
When I was 6,
they've had a lemonade stand. Is this good?
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. It'll teach them something about pricing. Maybe it'll teach them something about competition. I used to buy six bottles of Coca-Cola for my grandfather for $0.25 when I was 6 years old and went around selling them for $0.05. And it may be the best business I ever had.
All right, Warren Buffett. When you speak, people listen. We thank you very much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. You can, bye-bye.
Good to talk to you.
Always good to see you. You can go to CBSThisMorning.com to learn all about Warren Buffett's Grow Your Own Business Challenge.